concerned about is the e-learning platform. What is it going to look like for our students as we go into school in August? I mean, for our students to be safe, for our teachers to be safe, for our parents to be safe, and for our kids to be learning. That is the most important thing. I know without a doubt, both of you can say that it depended on the teacher. I mean, the type of e-learning platform varied from school to school, much of class to class. How are we going to make sure that all of our students are learning? So I think having someone like me who understands curriculum instruction, I have some great ideas and suggestions on something very simple, like creating some wonderful lessons that students can upload and see. How can we make sure that's equitable? So I think the first and foremost is making sure that this e-learning platform, whatever, if we do A, B, or C, that we are able to educate our students. I mean, we know that by the end of third grade, if a child is struggling, they're going to struggle for their entire career. What is happening to these kids who are now kindergarten, first grade, and second grade? Does that mean for the rest of their career they're going to be struggling because of a pandemic? So that's pretty much my first most important thing. The other thing is, you know, bringing the love of learning back to school, really looking at, you know, the new curriculum is coming, the standards are coming, the best standards are coming. I think we need to make sure that we have somebody like me who understands curriculum instruction to make sure that we have the learning that's fun, to make sure that there's hands-on learning, to bring that back, that love of learning for our students. Our kids are on the screen all day long. How can we make them excited about learning again? So that's really important. And finally, just all the options. Like, I love that Lowry's about to have a dual language program. We need to have more options and more programs for our students, so that way our students are excited about going to school and they're growing and they're learning and we can reach to their potential. So those are just a few of the things that I have in mind.
The things I wanted to do when I first got elected was to ensure that we brought international, an IB program to Northwest Hillsborough County. So the first thing I did when I got elected was I pushed really hard to ensure that we put an IB program at Alonzo. We were losing lots and lots of students to other programs, and I wanted to make sure that Alonzo had an IB program so we could keep our students in Northwest Hillsborough County at their community schools. So that's one of the things that I accomplished as your school board member, but there's tons more I would like to accomplish. Careers in technical education, I think we can do a lot, we can do a way better job at, and I'd like to expand those programs into more of our high schools. And I'd also like to expand our programs into our middle schools. So career and technical education is one of the things I'm gonna be focusing on. The other thing I'm gonna be focusing on, and you guys know at Lowry, is we definitely have a technology gap. We have not invested in proper technology in a long time. I'm excited to announce that we have a new director of IT starting July 1st, which is tomorrow. And he's going to bring a new level of experience to our schools and look for our schools to be upgraded in technology. It's one of the things that we passed the half-cent sales tax for. Technology is a big deal, and I'd like to see to make sure that we have proper technology in all of our classrooms. And that's one of the things I'm going to focus on as well.
And I think based on what I've said before, you can probably pick up the first two goals. And that was to refocus on the people of the school district and refocus on the instructional program and student performance. Those are very, very important goals. The next goal I'm very concerned about, and I alluded to it, and it's coming out of Washington, D.C., and it's coming out of Tallahassee, is that is the removing of needed funds from traditional Florida public school districts, actually districts across the nation, and refocusing those needed funds on the private sector through vouchers and through the private sector for-profit charter schools. And you have for-profit charter schools in your community, and you know what they are. I don't necessarily have a problem with the concept of a charter school. We have many great nonprofit charter schools. Learning Gate and Brooks DeBartolo and Pepin Academies are wonderful charter schools, but they're not for profit. Money is not taken away from the traditional public school district to operate those nonprofits. For-profit charter schools are run specifically to generate a profit for a private corporation. That's what for-profit charter schools are. So I feel the threat from vouchers, the threat from for-profit privatization, which hemorrhage needed funds that we need. You know, Lowry community knows we're not getting sufficient funding from the state. And the last thing that I'm very concerned about, the third priority, is privatization of district services. And I'll tell you a quick story, and many of you know this. Do you remember when we all had our own trash cans we'd have to buy from Walmart, and we put the trash cans out, and the county would come by and pick up your trash on trash day? And if they didn't pick up your trash, or if you had a problem, you'd call the county because you pay taxes, and the county would resolve the problem. Well, the county privatized garbage collection services, and they went to recycling, which is great, and they went to pickup services. As soon as it started, I had a problem. My new trash cans through the private company were not being picked up. When I called the county to complain, you know what they told me? Speak with the vendor. My goodness, the company that I'm having a problem with is the problem. When I called the county government, the people that gave out the contract, they told me to call the contractor to deal with a private company. My trash wasn't being picked up. I demanded to speak with the person who gave the contract to the private vendor and told them what the problem was. We cannot privatize our public schools, and when a parent has a complaint, they're referred to the contractor, to the private company that runs the school. Privatization, in some instances, can be cost effective. Privatization across the board of school district services is a major mistake, and you as parents do not want to speak with a private vendor about a problem in your classroom. You want to speak with somebody like Bill Person when I was a director at the district office, or when I was a middle school principal, or when I was a high school principal. You wanted to speak with Bill Person, and I would fix the problem. You weren't told to call a contractor or a vendor or some business office to resolve a problem with your child, which is the most important thing to you in the world. So to summarize my major concerns, it's the proliferation and the expansions of for-profit charter schools, the all-out bold initiative of doubling down on vouchers and taking money away from public districts across the state, and the movement towards privatization of replacing our employees and replacing our public schools by using the private sector. I'm opposed to all three of those. And I can tell you the incumbent, Mr. Cona, is part of that. He is for privatization. He does answer to the private sector, and he is there because of the private sector. And I can say to you, in my opinion, Mr. Cona's priority is to please the private sector before he takes care of the parents of the school district. And I said something that probably ruffled some feathers in your community and other communities. That is a major difference between myself and the incumbent.